Guten Abend, wie geht's? Good evening, El Segundo. Sorry we're running late. We had the El Segundo Little League team out front, and we wanted to take the opportunity to get a photo with that incredible team and their coaches and their parents. We are calling this meeting to order, and we're conducting this evening's meeting as a hybrid. Council is back in the dais, and the public is in via Zoom. Chamber is currently closed to the public with the exception of special presentations and public communications. Madam City Clerk, would you please take the roll call?
Absolutely. Councilmember Giroux.
Here.
Councilmember Nickel.
Here.
Councilmember Perstock.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Pimentel.
Here.
And Mayor Boyle.
Here. Okay, we'll have the invocation led by Pastor Chris Stewart. Is the pastor on from the Bridge Church? Following that, we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance led by Mayor Pro Tem Pimentel.
Angelo, is the pastor here? Angelo's helping us out this evening. Mona's on vacation, so just give Angelo a second. I'm going to assume that the pastor is not on.
Okay, we're going to rise, and then
will,
Madam Clerk will lead us in invocation, followed by Mayor Pro Tem with the pledge.
We gather to make decisions for our community. May we use only our best skills and judgment, keeping ourselves impartial and neutral as we consider the merits and pitfalls of each matter that is placed before us, and always act in accordance with what is best for our community and fellow citizens.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Pimentel. Thank you, Madam Clerk. We have several presentations. We're really excited to have the El Segundo Little League State Champions in. I'm going to turn it over to Scott, Councilman Nickel, and then we will be, as we'll have the kids in here, we'll be putting our masks back on as they join us.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Are we going to bring one of the coaches in while we read the commendation, or are we just going to leave them all outside while we do this?
Let's do that.
Figure we can tell the story to the empty podium, but it would be so much nicer to speak to an individual. For the viewing public at home, what would you say we have out front? There's probably 20 kids with the siblings, all the parents, like 40 parents. So we got something like 60, 70 people out front, all toting their El Segundo Little League garb. It's quite a sight. Oh, really? Come on in, boys. Thank you guys for coming tonight. So I have the pleasure of reading this certificate of commendation that each one of you will receive. I was shared a story from the coach that I thought I would share with the community, and then read off some of the names of the players. So, the state championship, first time this team at this level had ever made the state championship. It was a big dance for this team. Beat a Sherman Oaks team in the first round that had not lost all year and had only given up 4 runs until this point. Again, came back in the last inning for a 5-4 victory. Went on to beat Parkview, Orchid National, East Hills, to get to the finals. Sherman Oaks came all the way back and we met them in the finals. They had to beat us twice since we had not lost. They gave us our second loss of the entire All-Star season, so we had to face them for a winner-take-all game. We came up on top, again, coming back in the late innings. El Segundo became state champions. The coach shared that he preached family every day at practice and games. This team had blowout wins, close wins, and large comeback wins. This team competed, fought, battled, was resilient, and never gave up. We stayed humble throughout, knowing that the journey was long. We taught next man up when others were struggling. We were well represented by our parents and fans. Our kids won with grace and lost with humility. We represented El Segundo so well and behaved like champs. That in every tournament. I had the tournament director come up to me and say what a class act we were. What a great feeling to know we represented our city like that, and it was noticed by all. We also made history in being the only El Segundo Little League team to ever win a state championship. We were also the only Section 4 team, 10U, to ever win state. This team is special, and the future is bright for this team in El Segundo. I'm going to read the names, but from me to you as young El Segundo players, I've said it sitting up here on this dais that wearing the name El Segundo across my chest always meant something to me when I represented this town playing ball, and we were taught the same thing that you guys were taught. You don't just represent yourself, you don't just represent your coaches and your parents, but you represent this town when you go out there and play. So I cannot speak for my fellow council members, but I truly appreciate everything that you did and how you handled yourselves with such class. So I don't think we can bring them up. Coach, you have all the accommodations, correct? Awesome. So boys, each one of you is going to get a certificate like this, and it reads, Certificate of Commendation. The mayor and members of City Council of the City of El Segundo on this 21st day of September 2021 hereby commend, and then it's going to have your name on it, and it'll have El Segundo Little League U9-10 All-Stars. But I'm going to read their names now. Ben Baker. Max Baker. Quinn Boulay. Bowley. Brody Brooks. Finley Green. Charlie Heading. Jackson Kalish. Lucas Kildorf. Colby Lee. Declan McRoberts. Logan Meyer. Ethan Mooney. Crew O'Connor. Lennon Salazar. And the coaching staff, Danny Boulay, manager, Eddie Lee, coach, Tim Abrams, coach, Rob Green, coach, and Kristen Baker, team mom. And I think we should stand up and clap for him. What do you guys think? What did we forget, Danny?
Little League President.
Little League President Christabel. Is that it? Danny, would you like to come up and just receive this, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, please
Say a
say a
couple
few
words.
words, Danny.
Oh, you've got a few words. It's an honor to be here. This team, like I said in the notes and like Scott said, it's all, have a team and to play like a family and to win like a family, but to know that the city of El Segundo, how important that is to a city that I knew growing up was one of the top baseball towns around. And then to have a team here that goes to that far, wins state, comes back and is the only one. I believe the inception of Little League was 1954. So it's the only team in Little League history, not Babe Ruth, but Little League history that has actually went to state and won. So and the way we represented. Sure, we won like a family. Sure, we competed. Sure, we had this and that. But at the end of the day, I think the proudest moment for me was that at every tournament, the guys were like, hey, please get this over. We want you to win. You guys are so cool. You guys are so nice. And that, to me, was how these kids acted, because other teams acted a little funky. You know, I didn't let these guys do their dances and their scores and their home runs. All the other kids did. And it just goes to show you what a good class act can do to represent the city of El Segundo, which is a well-deserving city to be playing baseball in. So thank you for having us. And this team can be in Williamsport if we're smart and if we get things going. So look forward to seeing you guys again soon. Yeah, you bet. Good job, boys. Coaches, good job. Parents, thank you so much. Awesome.
Thank you, Councilman Nickel. And thank you all. You can stick around if you want. Meetings are pretty boring, boys, so you might come back later. We got more exciting topics. Thank you, parents. Thanks for being here. Thanks for all the support. All right. Madam Clerk, do we have Bernice Coveleski on video?
We do, and El Segundo TV will start it up.
Excellent.
Hi, I'm here with Bernice Coveleski because she is turning 100 years old, and we are so excited to celebrate her birthday with her. So today we wanted to give her a commendation, so I'm going to read some information about Bernice, and we can all celebrate together. So Bernice, this is a commendation from the city of El Segundo. Whereas Bernice and her identical twin sister, Barbara, were born in 1921 in Scotia, a company labor town in Humboldt County, California. The eldest of 7 children, Bernice is a third-generation Californian, of which she is very proud. The family eventually moved to San Jose area. Bernice and Barbara graduated from Campbell High School in 1939. And whereas Bernice married Tony in 1945, settling in Guerneville, California, in the heart of the Redlands, where their oldest daughter, Lynn, was born. They relocated to the Alameda County, Livermore, where Tony worked for the Standard Oil Company, where their younger daughter, Gail, was born. And in addition to her 2 daughters, Bernice has 3 grandchildren, Lisa Long, Christopher Webb, and Susie Webb. She also has 4 great-grandchildren, Emma Long, Amelia Rudge, Orla Rudge, and Poppy Rudge. And whereas in March 1955, the family moved to El Segundo, which means Bernice has lived in the same house for 66 years. Tony worked for the Standard Oil Company for 32 years. Bernice also worked there in the cafeteria for 13 years, making lots of lunches, changing jobs, and then working for Western Delta Airlines until retirement in 1979. Bernice has always been proud of the fact that she has never had to do job hunting. Job always seemed to find her. And whereas staying in the early 1970s, Bernice and Tony would go dancing at Alpine Village every Sunday afternoon, something that she continued to do well into her 90s. She still has her dancing feet. And despite Bernice saying that she would never hit a little white ball around with a metal stick, she took up golf in the late 1970s and loved it, often to be found at the lakes. When she wasn't doing that, she was enjoying driving and took many road trips around the United States with various family members. She's been in each of the 50 states. Her airline passes plus her Standard Oil travel benefits allowed her to do lots of international travel, and she traveled around the world, especially spending a lot of time in England where Gail lives. And whereas Bernice has enjoyed her life for years and was a regular at Charburger on Main Street. We often met for French fries there, Bernice. She's an honorary member of the Taylor's Pharmacy employee crowd and has spent many of a happy hour enjoying breakfast and a chat with them and the extended Taylor's Pharmacy family. She is a godmother to council member Carol Perstick, that's me. Now, therefore, on the 21st day of September 1921, the mayor and members of the city council in the city of El Segundo, California, hereby extend our congratulations and sincere best wishes for a happy and healthy birthday. So happy birthday, Bernice. Would you like to say a couple words to the El Segundo community? How did you stay so young? How'd you live for so long?
I have been very proud of the fact that I can tell people I am from El Segundo. Maybe they mispronounce it, but I correct them because I want them to know exactly where I am. I live about as far west as anybody could and not get their feet wet. I live really, truly on the very last street west, the last block by the fence that goes into the Hyperion area. And I'm sure you have heard about the Hyperion. We'll skip that story right now, but that is where my home is, and I'm very proud of it. I've lived in the same house since March the 5th, 1955. My husband and I, found the home. We were told about it. We enjoyed it. There's only a 2-bedroom home, but we managed well in it with the 2 little girls. And we have lovely neighbors. Our first neighbors were the Kellys. And it is Carol Kelly, Perstuck is her married name, but Carol Kelly is the one who has interviewed me now. And I love those girls to pieces. The Kellys had twin girls, and I'm a twin. So we felt we had a lot in common. But thank you for all of your help, the interview.
And you're going to have a great and a fun, happy birthday.
Well, thank you very much.
And you're going to have a beer on your birthday?
I'm going to have a beer.
Yes.
Maybe 2. Are you going to stay and have one with me?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll put a straw in it.
Yeah. Well, thank you, El Segundo,
Thank you.
and happy birthday to Bernice Coveleski.
Well done, Councilmember Perstick. Happy birthday, Bernice. Okay, we're on to Hispanic Heritage Month. Councilmember Giroux.
Yes, okay. Really the proclamation from the city of El Segundo. Whereas each year the United States observes National Hispanic Heritage Month by celebrating the culture, heritage, and countless contributions of those whose ancestors were indigenous to North America, as well as those who came from Spain, Mexico, the Caribbean, Central America, and South America. And whereas what began in 1968 as Hispanic Heritage Week under President Johnson was expanded by President Reagan in 1988 to cover a 30-day period starting September 15th and ending on October 15th. And whereas the date September 15th is significant because it is the anniversary of independence for Latin American countries of Costa Rica, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, and Nicaragua. Additionally, Mexico and Chile celebrate their Independence Day on September 16th and September 18th, respectively. And whereas this year's theme, Esperanza, a celebration of Hispanic heritage and hope, encourages us to reflect on the legacy of Hispanic people who have influenced our nation's history and serve today as leaders in all aspects of our national life, from the Supreme Court and halls of Congress to boardrooms and main streets across all the United States. And whereas we recognize and honor the many ways that Hispanics have enriched the fabric of our society, while also rededicating ourselves to supporting our Hispanic and Latinx communities and ensuring that El Segundo is an equitable and welcoming place for all. And whereas Hispanics and Latinx communities represent a significant and important demographic of the city of El Segundo, we honor the invaluable ways they contribute to our great city through cultural, educational, economic, and political vitality. Now, therefore, on this 21st day of September 2021, the mayor and members of the City Council of the City of El Segundo, California, hereby proclaim September 15th, 2021 to October 15th, 2021 as Hispanic Heritage Month and encourage all residents and employees to celebrate the unique and vibrant history of the Hispanic community. And accepting this proclamation will be Interim Chief Jaime Bernice.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. My name is Jaime Bermudez. I'm the interim chief of the police department. I'm honored to accept this proclamation on behalf of our Hispanic community. Thank you very much. As a son of immigrant parents, this is very special to me, and I appreciate the council recognizing the many contributions of the Hispanic community, not only in our city, but our country and the state. So thank you very much. As the interim police chief, I know how important it is to reflect our community, and I'm very proud of our diversity, particularly within the police department, but also within the city and our workforce. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Councilmember Giroux. Okay, next up, we have a COVID-19 update on Zoom. And Mr. Mitnick, who's presenting on that?
Chief Dina
Lee.
Lee, sorry.
Thank you. Chief Lee, welcome.
Hi, good evening, Mayor Boyles and members of City Council. I'm Dina Lee, the acting fire chief with your COVID-19 update. Stand by while I share my screen. The first slide here, we have the current numbers as of September 20th. In the last 5 days, LA County, the case rate has dropped 187. The
Chief,
Pfizer
Chief, sorry to interrupt.
vaccine-
We don't see the slide. I'm sorry.
This slide here shows the Pfizer vaccine is expected to submit emergency use authorization this week for ages 5 to 11. The third dose is now available. The IMT is working with Park Vista and our 65 and older community to facilitate that third dose. The county protocol updates, starting October 7th, all attendees 12 and older at outdoor mega events must show proof of full vaccination or a negative COVID test. Also starting October 7th, bars, breweries, and wineries, all patrons must show proof, at least one dose, and then fully vaccinated by November 4th. What came out at 12:01 a.m. today, indoor mega events, 1,000 or more persons must show proof of vaccination or negative COVID test. President Biden's executive order is expected to affect more than 100 million U.S. workers. In El Segundo, we're actively reviewing this order and awaiting additional information on recommended next steps. The IMT is going to stay in place for the remainder of 2021. There has been an ebb and flow with cases as we navigate holidays and the increased restrictions. I'm hoping that the numbers will continue to go down, but we're ready no matter what happens. This slide shows that approximately 69% of California is vaccinated, and LA County is the most vaccinated county in the state. And this just shows the LA County, the projection with 76% vaccinated with one dose as of September 5th. Any questions?
Chief, I just throw in there a data point that as a bit of a leading indicator, county sanitation is continually sampling the waste stream, and they're back to reporting below measurable levels of all forms of COVID in the refuse stream. So traditionally, that's about a 10-day leading indicator, and I think that sort of marries up with the graphs that we are seeing on positivity and overall infections.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Pimentel. Thank you, Chief Lee. Appreciate it. Have a great night. All right, then we have Elias Sassoon with the Hyperion and AQMD update.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. There are now 2,350 El Segundo residents who have applied for reimbursement program. Out of these applicants, 709 residents, which is over 30%, have been paid for a total amount of $1,043,743. Also, 100 applicants are about to get the final approval. Hyperion is processing about 70 reimbursement requests per day, which is up from 60 a week ago. So they have added more personnel, which has helped a whole lot. For the last few days, I received a few emails regarding odor, and I have been in communication with Hyperion staff, and they are looking into their operation and see what could be the source of the odor. I have Mr. Timlin DeFeta, who is the executive plant manager with Hyperion. He is available in case if the city council has any question.
Yeah, I got a couple things, actually. Okay, so on the reimbursement, it looks like, I know they've obviously accelerated from the past 2 weeks. So it looks like still they're about 1/3 of the way there on reimbursement. So technically, you could be looking at a little over $3.5 million when all is said and done. The issue I have a little bit is declaring that they are 100% operable again and everything's back to the way it was, yet we still have a pretty significant issue in the north or northwest part of town. So what is being done in that regard? Because to declare that something's done, all someone from that Hyperion has to do is just come out at any night of the week, actually, and just stand in Mayor Pimentel's yard, as a matter of fact, and you will smell what you've been smelling the past couple of months. So if someone is online here, can someone explain when that's going to be rectified, or is it at least being acknowledged that there's still a problem?
So before I turn it over to Tim, yes, we have acknowledged that there are complaints about odor. I personally have been in touch with both Hyperion and AQMD, and I encourage all the residents to let AQMD know, and they have been monitoring the air quality as well. And in my conversation with Hyperion, this is really nothing other than ordinary maintenance issues. There are times they have to open up the pumps or the tanks, but at this point, I would like for Tim to step in and maybe if he has any further explanation. Tim, are you online?
Yes, I am.
All right, so would you be, if you don't mind, would you please explain, if you could, in your own words about the smelling, the odor problem, particularly throughout the night and in those blocks that I communicated with you, if you don't mind?
So we take every odor complaint seriously when we get them. We do surveys. We look at our operations to find out areas where things may be coming from and how we can improve. So I can tell you things that steps that we've taken. Is, for example, our primary tanks, we've put taps over them as an additional barrier. We have a new biotrickling filter that just came online on 9/16 that we going through the startup phase that will help in terms of odor control at our intermediate pumping station. We put in an additional scrubber, air pollution control device on 9/17. So we continue to do various things around the plant to address the issues as we get the complaints. But we are proactively, this is something that we take seriously, and that's why a lot of investments are being done to bring more facilities on site. So in addition to the biotrickling filter, 8 million biotrickling filter that just began operation on 9/16, we'll have one at the headworks that will be coming on that we showed the council members during the tour of Hyperion that will be coming on towards the end of the year. So it's not from a lack of resolve on our part to try to address every last complaint and just proactively look at how we minimize any kind of impact to the community, and that's what we continue to do on a daily basis.
Okay, so my question on that is, who made the decision to shut off the hotels and all the other thing for that part of town, which obviously still has a problem? So I know that probably wasn't you. I'm just saying somebody shut off the faucet though, and I think it was a little premature based on what we're still dealing with.
So from our perspective is the incident that happened on July 15, as regrettable as it is, we've gone through the recovery phase. Our fence line monitoring data reflects that, as well as the water quality. So now what we're looking at is the long-term structural things that we can put in place to ensure that we continue to be good neighbors to the community, work with AQMD, work with everyone, and we're going to be having the El Segundo Citizens Forum meeting this Thursday, where we'll again listen to the community, and we continue to find ways and look at how we can work with the community to improve things. So the projects and the things that I mentioned to you are long-term things that we began before the incident and will continue to do after the incident to, in essence, continue to try to address and mitigate any odors that are coming from the plant. But just by virtue of the operations that we have, odors are part of the nature of the operations that we have. So, but part of our responsibility also is to try to mitigate that and minimize any kind of impact on the community, and that's what we continue to actively try to do.
All right, thanks. So really, this is for our staff, Elias, Scott. We have to figure out how to push back on shutting down this Thursday for those particular residents who are still being affected on this. I know that we've talked about it. I don't know where we are on it. And then he also mentioned AQMD. You know, as a council, we talked about that 2 weeks ago and pushing for a monitoring system. And do we have any update on that?
Yes, sir. I sure do. So my colleagues from AQMD were not able to join the meeting tonight, but they gave me an update. So the South Coast AQMD continues to respond to all the odor complaints. The complaints that I do receive, I respond back with the phone numbers, and they've been doing a good job. Also, AQMD has been in communication with Hyperion regarding their air monitoring plan and will provide technical guidance to Hyperion as needed. They are committed to do that, and they will continue to work with Hyperion to that end. And it's the city, I'm also involved. I'm working with both agencies to make sure that this plan goes forward.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Elias, I think this is for Tim. I still don't understand what's causing the odor. Yeah, I mean, I couldn't ascertain, is it routine maintenance that's causing the odor? Is it residual from what happened on July 11th? What is the cause of the odor to the best of your?
So hydrogen sulfide, which is an indicator of odor, is just a straight byproduct of sewage. So any plant that you go, it's what comes with the nature of the material that we have to handle. So, but what we also try, so that's just a natural part of the material that comes to us. So, but what we also need to do is to find multiple or better ways in terms of trying to address what is inherent in the product that we get. And so that's what we continue to put new processes online, new systems online, and we continue to look at where we can improve. So I'll give you an example, say our primary tanks, we have taps over them now to help minimize things, but we also are ordering a new generation of covers for them that will be fabricated and be sent to us so that we can replace that, and then that will minimize any kind of emissions that may be coming into the tanks, coming out of the tanks. So we continuously do things like that to try to get to a point where we become invisible to the community, where the impacts are not felt. And so similar for the headworks, we're going to have the scrubber that is going to come, air pollution device that is going to come before the end of the year. On the intermediate pumping station, we've started the new $8 million facility with at 25% efficiency now, because we have to grow the microorganisms that feed on the waste. So we continue to do all those things, and we'll keep you abreast of that, and we'll continue to work with you and the community as to other ways that we can find and to minimize the impact on the community. But it is hydrogen sulfide is just inherent in wastewater.
Yeah, I understand. I've lived here 25 years, but it just seems that there's more of it than there has been in the past. And I think it was, Scott, 10 days ago, we got an update that everything had been resolved in terms of the sludge and everything else, and they're back to normal operations. Yet our residents are still complaining. So that's what I can't quite figure out, is why is there more than normal odor if things are back to where they were? I mean, I understand you're making capital improvements to the plant to make it even better than it was in the past. But if you're operating at the same level that you were prior to the incident July 11th, why are we still smelling odors? That's what I don't understand yet.
Can I piggyback on that just a bit? And that I would say, I think the odors are very strong, and they're not your typical hydrogen sulfide sort of smell. I mean, it's not, the smell is, we're trying to describe smells, which is I don't really know how to do that. But the smells are different, they're strong, and they're bad. It's sort of varying, but like today it was, it's some bizarre, sort of almost like burnt. You can't really describe it, but it's not, we know what sewage smells like. It didn't smell like sewage. And I suspect that's from some sort of scrubbing additive or cleaning additive of some sort. I just think what people are describing, and why you hear people put voice to things like they're concerned about various chemistries, is because it smells like something different, they don't know what it is, and they're concerned it could be something really bad for them. So I think that contributes.
So, Council Member, on that issue, we've had complaints in terms of saying bleach smells and things like that. We can assure you that we're not doing anything differently. So if you smell any kind of a different kind of a pollutant, we just have to work with you at AQMD to see whether that can be attributable to us. H2S is the signature that we know is attributable to us. But when we get things like bleach and all that stuff, we are not in any kind of a cleaning phase going on at this point. So that we are at a loss as to why that is being attributed to us. But we are willing to work with anybody that can, help us in terms of how we look at those issues and see whether it is us or whether it's coming from any other kind of sources that are nearby or whatever. But at this point, we know when you talk about H2S, that's signature to us. That's something that is either from us or from a sewage pumping plant or a sewer in the street where a maintenance hole is not sealed or something. So you can attribute those to either us or your pump stations or your sewer lines. But when you come to any of those other kind of chemicals that seems to be consistent now, that has been attached to us, that's where, in working with the liars and trying to look at things, is how do we try to figure out what those sources are that may not necessarily be from us, or maybe it's from us, but we're not able to find it. But we know we're not doing anything differently, and that's the question that has come because we've received information saying, okay, everything seems maybe fine during the day, but at night it changes. Are you doing anything differently at night? And we've looked, and that's something that we've not been able to determine, that at least operationally wise, we're not doing anything differently. And so we'll continue to look at that and continue to work with you to try to see how we can best pinpoint what's happening with those other smells that are different from hydrogen sulfide.
Last question for you, Tim. I think for me anyway is when we toured the plant, it was still unknown as to what had caused the problem. Is that still the case? How are you in your investigation in terms of the root cause?
So yeah, so multiple investigations are taking place and assessment. So one of them, Elias, is participating in the one which is the ad hoc public works committee that's looking at that. We have various consultants that are looking at that, and they're going to be coming up with assessment reports. And then we also have the regulators that are looking at that. From our perspective, all options are still on the table. We're just assessing all the data, working with the regulators and working with all the engineering consultants and others, and having external committees work with us to try to ascertain. So part of the work that we're also doing is going, again, more videotaping in our conveyance system to see condition of pipes, whether they are loose materials, whether they are debris buildup, flow conditions. So all those assessments are ongoing, and we're hoping in somewhere around in about less than 90 days, we'll get some significant information to be able to be more informative as to what is being determined at this point, to that point.
Thank you. Any other questions for the Hyperion General Manager?
I just have one question. What was your throughput capacity? Like, how much throughput did you have? What was the growth over the last 5 years in throughput through your plant? Because, you know, with the new passage of SB 9 and SB 10, I just want to make sure that you're prepared for the expansion of density living in LA County.
Yeah, actually, for us, the flows, if you go back to our flows, we were designed for a capacity for average daily capacity of 450 million gallons per day. We are at 260. So during the height of the pandemic, we had gone down about 10 million gallons. But generally, historically, from over the past decade now, because of all the efforts of water conservation, we've seen a significant decrease in flows to the plant.
Okay. I think that's it. Yeah.
If you don't mind, one more before I said one more item. The El Segundo Hyperion Citizen Forum is going to have its meeting on September the 23rd. September 23rd at 6 o'clock. This is going to be a virtual meeting, and all the citizens could participate in that. They need to be signed up with Hyperion. The information is on our city website, but if there is any resident who is watching this, they have any issue locating that, I'd be more than happy. Public Works will be more than happy to accommodate them in order to get signed up for that meeting.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, we're on to public communications. And if you're on Zoom, if you'd like to speak, please click the hand icon and the host will announce your name when it's your turn to speak. If you're dialing in from a phone, you'll need to press *9 to raise the icon hand and *6 to unmute. And no video will appear. You'll hear only the commenter. So, let's see. Are there any folks wishing to speak on video in public communications?
Do not see anyone hands raised on the Zoom call.
Okay. Are there folks here? Oh, yeah, okay, great.
Good? Okay. Good evening, Mayor Boyles and council members. My name is Dallin Young, and I am president of Blue Water Government Affairs, and we are a cannabis consulting firm that has worked on cannabis ballot initiatives and ordinances across the state. And we are here to provide an alternative to the current cannabis initiative that has also been filed with you. I am currently working with Mota Inc. and Luis Bobadilla, who you'll be hearing from today, and would like to express our desire in working with you to develop an ordinance for the city of El Segundo that would open the doors for responsible and legal cannabis operations while also allowing the city to maintain control over the overall progress. We have worked on multiple cannabis ballot initiatives, or having worked on multiple cannabis ballot initiatives, I can tell you that you should take control of the situation and pass an ordinance yourself versus letting the initiative pass on its own. If the ballot measure is successful, you will be subject to it in its entirety and will not be able to make any changes even at a future date. On the other hand, if you were to pass your own ordinance, you would be able to modify it when needed in order to address any issues that might arise. You would have more control over zoning as well as which cannabis uses you might want to allow now or in the future. Also, there are things in the initiative that might pose an issue for the city. For example, that are in the initiative that might pose an issue for the city. For example, one aspect of the initiative that should be concerning is what we call a point-based application process of awarding licenses. This process is very expensive for the city and is littered with problems that have caused countless lawsuits against cities up and down the state because of the subjective nature in which applications are analyzed and awarded points by third parties. Instead, you have the opportunity to pass your own ordinance where you could consider a basic CUP process that is much more streamlined, transparent, and is a permitting process your planning department is intimately familiar with. Because of the potential lawsuits in the point-based permitting process, it could take multiple years for businesses to become operational versus a CUP process that could take as little as 12 months to award licenses and get people up and operational, that it would in turn lead to quicker revenue for the city from this industry. In conclusion, ours and MOTA's desire to work with the city to implement a unique ordinance that is beneficial for everyone, as well as leaving control of the program in the hands of City Council. We thank you very much for your time, and we'll be in contact with you moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor Boyles and council members. My name is Luis Bobadilla, founder and president of MOTA Inc. We're a California state and LA City licensed cannabis business in Silver Lake. I'm here today to introduce myself, my company, and as Dahlin mentioned, to help provide an alternative to the proposed ballot measure that's being introduced here in El Segundo. I'd also like to acknowledge that the stigma associated with historic cannabis may raise concerns surrounding public safety and community impacts. As such, I commend the council for looking beyond old stereotypes and being open to an alternative, vibrant vision for commercial cannabis that benefits the whole of El Segundo. To provide a little background on myself, I played hockey at the College of the Holy Cross in Worcester, Massachusetts, and I graduated with honors in 2001. My professional endeavors include working for Banco Mext, Mexico's import-export bank in London, and for JP Morgan and Company, originating and selling Latin America's sovereign debt out of New York. I founded MOTA in 2007 as a medical marijuana collective in compliance with Prop 215 and Senate Bill SB 420. We're proudly family owned and operated, growing from a small retailer with less than 5 employees and $100,000 in first-year sales to a company with 25 employees and over $11 million in 2020 revenues. Our business model consists of 4 interrelated activities. We cultivate, we manufacture products, we retail and distribute them at wholesale. We're the equivalent of a microbrewery with an attached retail store. Through nearly 15 years of continuous operations, we've developed and refined inventory controls that are compliant with state and local regulations. Specifically, we're integrated with something called Metric, which is the state of California's track and trace system, a database that assigns digital tags that track cannabis inventory as it moves through the supply chain, ensuring inventory control down to the gram or single edible. Our desire to work with El Segundo dates back nearly a year. We were referred to city planning, who informed us that the potential path forward would be through a zone text amendment agreement financed by a reimbursement agreement into which we've already entered. This brings us to today. Our conversation suggests integrating commercial cannabis into El Segundo's city plan is fairly straightforward from a zoning perspective. It would, however, require the council reverse the current ban. Toward that end, I'd like to conclude my remarks by providing a few figures that illustrate the significant benefits our operation has brought to our local community. And specifically, since 2019, we've generated nearly $30 million in total revenue, paying the city of Los Angeles over $1 million in cannabis taxes. We've paid the state of California over $1 million in sales tax and over $4 million in cannabis taxes. We've served nearly 500,000 patients since our inception in 2007, and since 2017, we've donated in excess of $50,000 to our local community through support of the Hollywood Free Clinic's Thanksgiving food and Christmas toy drives. We're excited at the prospect of helping the city of El Segundo take advantage of this opportunity to be thought leaders in the South Bay and bring regulated cannabis to the area. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, that concludes public comments. City Manager, anything you'd like to add?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, we'll be happy to follow up with those two individuals. And that's about it. Thank you.
Yeah, Councilman Drew.
Along these lines, again, I don't know anything about this business at all, but all I do know is that you got 18 states that it's currently legalized and another 13 that's decriminalized. Is it worth it to, I know we're looking to do an impact study. And I know that we don't really want to use staff to do that because we have nobody on staff that's an expert at doing that. Does it make sense to discuss with these individuals what the impact would be? I'm not talking about advocating either way on this. I'm just saying just to get information, because it seems like there's an awful lot here. And I'm afraid that if we just copy and paste from another municipality, that we're going to be missing something.
Maybe we could ask Mr. Mitnick or Mr. Hensley to discuss where we're at with the processes going on right now.
Well, I'll address what couple points the speaker made. The initiative that's being put in front of the city will only require 2 retail establishments. It doesn't require any other use. So this, and it actually anything other than those 2 retail outlets will be completely at the discretion of the council. So that ordinance that's being proposed pursuant to the initiative is not going to tie this council's hands a great deal. In fact, it ties the council's hands very little. But it does have a point system in that is pretty complicated. I will say that. I will agree with the speaker. It's got a very complex point system for awarding those 2 retail outlets. So that is something that I think, as we talked last time, that staff's gonna look at that. And if there's those that have more knowledge about it than we do, great. I'll let Scott address where the staff is as far as reviewing the issue.
Well, really, we're in the early stages of it, and it'll come back to council. And for the public, in terms of the impact, it's fiscal impact on operations, that would be included in the ballot measure that would go out, so the public could understand what the impact would be. So it's not as if the city is advocating or opposing, it's doing the impact for the ballot measure.
Yeah, I'm just speaking on a matter of just information. I just don't know anything about this, and there'll be a lot more talk about it. I just want to make sure that we're informed, that's all.
Yeah, and council, if you're interested, if this has legs and it goes forward, we can certainly have experts in this field come and do a Q&A with the council and the community. Happy to do that.
I'm sure there's actually a cannabis topic or 2 at the League of Cities meeting too in Sacramento. I know that for sure.
There is, and we
Mayor
plan.
Pro Tem's been to some of those too.
Yeah.
Okay. Does that answer? Okay? Cool. All right, we're on to procedural motions. Read all ordinances and resolutions on the agenda by title only. Would someone like to make a motion to do so?
Giroux, so moved.
Pimentel, second.
Thank you, Madam Clerk, if you would please.
Councilmember Giroux?
Yes.
Councilmember Nichol?
Aye.
Councilmember Perstack?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Pimentel?
Yes.
And Mayor Boyles?
Yes.
5-0.
Thank you, ma'am. Consent calendar. Are there any polls for items 6 through 8? No. Okay. Someone like to make a motion to approve consent?
Giroux, so moved.
Thank you.
Pimentel, second.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, if you would please take a voice vote.
Councilmember Giroux?
Yes.
Councilmember Nichol?
Aye.
Councilmember Perstack?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Pimentel?
Yes.
Mayor Boyles?
Yes.
5-0.
Okay, no public hearings. We're on to staff presentations. Purchase of retired police canine by handler Sergeant Alex Leavitt. And I see Chief grabbing him.
your interim police chief will walk up to the podium.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. I'm waiting for Alex to come in. I think it'd be great for him to. The dog and his kids were getting a little restless, so they were hanging out outside, but.
I swear that's the same dog that almost took me out at the demo out front. Maybe not.
All right. Mayor, council members, good evening. My name's Jaime Bermudez. I'm the interim chief of police. I'm here to introduce our most recent retiree, Roxy. Roxy was born in 2012. She joined our police department in 2015 as our first female canine. She took on Officer Leavitt as her partner, and they have been working together in our patrol division since 2015. Roxy is a Belgian Malinois, and over the course of her career, she has been responsible for several captures, locating over 200 pounds of dangerous drugs, and she also enjoys showing off her skills during various community presentations. The work of a police canine is very physically demanding and critical to keeping our community safe in dangerous situations. Roxy has always shown incredible commitment to her job. After 6 years of patrol work, she has earned her retirement to relax with her partner, Sergeant Leavitt, and the rest of the Leavitt family, which is also here joining us. So now that she's retired, we're asking council to be able to sell the dog back to Sergeant Leavitt for $1. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And
yeah. By the way, sir, we do have a bone for you to.
I tried that last time.
Now, I was here last time when the other dog almost took your hand off.
That's what it was. I forgot.
So we figured we'd get a dog big enough, so I mean a bone big enough, so
I
you
can keep
wouldn't
my
have to get too
distance.
close.
I
Yeah.
appreciate that, Chief. Thank
Sure.
you. That's awesome.
City Attorney, we have a complete release.
That's correct.
So moved.
Awesome. Do we have a second?
First, second.
Awesome. Okay. Madam Clerk, would you please take a voice vote?
Yes. Councilmember Giroux?
Yes.
Councilmember Nichol?
Aye.
Councilmember Perstech?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Pimentel?
Yes.
And Mayor Boyles?
Yes.
5.
Oh, all right. Great. I would love to give Roxy the bone. That's cool.
All right.
I'll put my life at peril. Oh, I have to stay on this side?
Well, the complete release goes into effect once the motion passed, right? Knock yourself out. Coat that arm in bacon.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Leavitt family, enjoy. That's awesome. Appreciate it.
Are we able to take a picture with the dog and the entire council?
We would love that. Where do you want to do that? Where's the, right?
Outside? Is
Okay.
that possible?
Yeah, is it still light enough?
I believe, well, we'll do our best. Or are you gonna be here?
Can we do it
Yeah,
here?
let's do it here, yeah.
Okay. You tell them.
Oh, that's wonderful. That is wonderful. That is wonderful. A beautiful, beautiful doggy. The mayor's usually in the middle. He doesn't want to be there.
This move?
Okay, very good, guys. And oh, she is great. You are great. Is it Roxy? Oh, wait a minute.
Hold on, we need these angels and everybody in there. What's going on here? I'm getting ripped off. Okay.
Maybe I'm behind you.
All right, guys. Couple more shots. Angels, could you look over here? Sweetheart, over here. I think I'll do it, probably. All right, thank you.
You don't want one with it? Or just the family and love it? Like a,
I'll take a picture outside.
okay.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you, Chief. Thank you. Let's go outside.
Yes, sir. Congratulations. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for the appreciate. Thank you. All right, guys.
Because right now we need to exit. Let's go.
All right, we are on to city clerk reports.
No report this evening.
Thank you. City treasurer has the investment portfolio report. Mr. Robinson, hey, how you doing? Thanks for being here.
Hello, good evening, everyone. Let me share the screen. Okay, everyone see my screen? It's
Yes. Mm-hmm.
this is somewhat, I guess, unconventional here. I figured I would kind of give you guys a demo of something that I created to kind of add to some transparency that everyone can have via some software that I've been using. So basically the portfolio report, I'm going to be walking through kind of in real time here. And this is the same kind of report that you see, quarterly from us, but this is just a little bit more of a flexible way to look at it. And, eventually, as we build this out, it'll be something that we can kind of drill into. And even if you guys are interested in looking at any of this on your spare time, you certainly can. You can basically toggle through here as to what month you want to look at or what quarter you want to look at. But I'm going to kind of walk us through essentially the report, but again, via Tableau here. So here's the portfolio summary. You can see that most of the assets are still in our liquidity portfolio. We did a little bit of investing in June, and more or less we're kind of in the same situation that we were a quarter ago, where rates are still low, LAIF is still somewhat attractive, although getting less attractive, and the opportunity cost of staying in LAIF is still not compelling enough to really start to reach out into longer maturities. So here's the investments by type. This is same kind of visual, but just more in obviously in a pie chart here. But you can see 40 million of it's in LAIF, 22 million is in cash. And this cash is actually still earning us, or was earning us about 45 basis points, which is still kind of, it's almost what a 2-year, 3-year corporate bond would earn you at this point. But we've started to draw down on cash and put more into LAIF in the last month or so. Here's how the portfolio looks out through the next 5 years. You can see kind of where all of our reserve portfolio maturities are coming. So ideally, what we're going to want to do is now that the POBs and the payments are a known quantity and level for the next 20 years, we can start to kind of to guide our portfolio to have maturities in Q2 of each year, so that we can be ready to make that $9 or $10 million payment, which is really kind of the only big outflow that we really have to worry about at this point. There is an interest payment that happens at the beginning of the year that is substantially smaller, but that's something that we'll have to plan for as well. These are the investments on maturity date. Again, you can see that we're very on the short end of the curve here, staying pretty liquid. And, out as far as 5 years, this is something that we just recently did, was we invested about $6 million in these 4 to 5 year, this 4 to 5 year bucket. So here are all the individual investments in the portfolio. Obviously, you could look at the link and go through and examine any of these if you so wish. But more or less, this is kind of showing you, what percentage of the portfolio each of these things represents, what the unrealized P&L is on all of them, and again, just kind of all the information that you really could want. And for the most part, the unrealized P&L, which is something that we're required to report as positive because rates have gone down significantly since we bought pretty much all of these notes. The transactions in the last quarter. So you can see in June 17th, actually, exactly, we loaded up on quite a few different corporates here, about $500,000 in each one of these. And I will get into kind of a little bit more of the details later. Here's the interest that we've received over the last quarter. Well, this view is over the past year, but you can see that's $6 million of purchase investments in June of Q2. And you can see, in general, we're going to see a decent amount of interest at the beginning of the quarter, or the first month of the quarter and the last month of the quarter, because the first month of the quarter is when we get our LAIF interest payment. As you know, most of our investments are there. And at the end of the quarter is typically when most of our investments are paying their coupons. Here's a very important view of the asset class compliance. What we want to do is see that our weight is less than our max weight in every single one of these different instruments. And it is. There are a few that we're getting close to, which would be medium-term notes, municipal bonds maybe, but nowhere near to any kind of violation there. We also have the restriction that we need to be A or better in one of two ratings. And unfortunately, the data that we get from the bank doesn't show the Moody's rating, but at time of purchase, a lot of these BBB plus are A from a Moody perspective, and that's still compliant. And one of the things I mentioned during our committee meeting actually is a lot of the most recent purchases that we made were actually in the kind of the BBB plus A range. And one of the big reasons I did that is that there is a lot of research out there showing that that the BBBs are actually kind of where there's kind of a sweet spot in terms of risk-adjusted return. And it'd be nice, and it is nice if we can kind of get into that bucket because it's still investment grade for all intents and purposes, and so considered very safe by the market. So we've been kind of getting into that area a little bit more. Here's LAIF. You can see that the rates have been kind of dropping off a cliff here. The quarterly apportionment rate, is down here at 44 basis points, and it's currently actually at about 20 basis points, and it appears to have bottomed out. Here are the daily LAIF rates, and as I mentioned earlier, here's the end of last quarter, which is what I'm reporting on. It's about 22 basis points. It's actually sitting at about 20 basis points right now. And you can see that the actual portfolio has kind of increased in its average maturity, so they've been kind of buying a little bit further out on the curve as well. So here's this kind of helps us envision what our liquidity needs are going to be. This is rolling 13-month cash flow analysis. So these are all the credits and debits to the overall portfolio over the last year. You can see that obviously the kind of big outflow here, this was last July when we had our pension payment. So that's kind of when we typically run very negative, but you can see if I move this to actually July, this year we didn't have that because obviously we had the POV, so we've kind of missed that payment and we're going to be hitting that next year. So, in comparison, July is a pretty tame month for 2021. Here's a net change in cash by year, just to kind of see how this varies. And this is as of the end of June. So you can see our typical drawdown in July. And then, more or less, small drawdowns up until until the beginning half of the year when we typically go positive. These are historic drawdowns. Again, this kind of helps us to manage and look at our liquidity needs, and make sure that we have enough liquidity in our liquidity portfolio. This shows, this is rolling 12-month cumulative drawdowns. So, worst case scenario, what is the biggest that we've drawn down over a period of 12 months? And this speaks to kind of the job that the finance department's doing, and that, in general, this has been positive over 12 months. So, we've been doing okay. Here's a kind of a state of the world and kind of what we're looking at. This is the U.S. Treasury yield curve as of June, which is end of Q2, as well as many other kind of prior quarter ends, just to kind of see how things have changed. So you can see in June, things, compared to a year ago, the curve has started to steepen quite a bit, in longer maturities, but actually is lower for shorter maturities. So you don't get paid as much for taking, for buying a 1-year bond, but, once you get out to 3 years, we're starting to see some increase, which speaks to the fact that the market is pricing in the fact that, in a couple years from now, we're going to expect rates to go up. And this kind of speaks to the same thing, which is that the longer end of the yield curve has gone up or did go up in the second quarter. Here is what is a very famous and popular recession indicator. This kind of shows what was happening. And interestingly enough, I don't know if I mentioned it before, but this was negative even before COVID hit. We were already kind of bracing for a potential recession, and COVID kind of took us over the edge. But either way, that we're kind of out of that zone as the yield curve has become more steep lately. Unemployment versus inflation, you can see unemployment going down quite a bit, inflation creeping up. Again, that's kind of something that we're going to be monitoring over the next year or so, and that's still a topic of great debate just about everywhere you look. This is a kind of market prediction of what inflation is going to look like. So the market is pricing in about close to 2.5% inflation over the next 5 years, which is substantially higher than I think what the Fed is typically targeting. And then the last thing I'm going to show you is just kind of one of the things that we use to select the bonds that we have. So this is something I downloaded a little bit ago of all the potential bonds in our universe, or the ones that we know about. And they're colored by the different asset class. So you have CDs, corporates, agencies, Supras, taxable munis. And this basically kind of shows you what's on offer right now. And so this is yield to maturity on the y-axis, and this is the maturity on the x-axis. So you can see that you got to go out over 4 years from now to get anything over 1%, which is kind of a tough pill to swallow. But in the end, I think that we're going to need to ladder out and kind of get those Q2 buckets filled up so that we can time some of those liquidity needs. There's another thing we look at that's not going to render here very well because it's pretty condensed. On a bigger screen, it'll do better. But this is another thing we look at, which is kind of that same thing. But what you have is we're looking at our current ladder, so we can kind of identify, okay, well, it looks like Q2 is a little low compared to, what our POB payment's going to be. So Q2 2023, we need to look over here, and we can kind of go over here and select exactly what month that is. And then also to kind of make sure that we're going to be in compliance with whatever we were to purchase. So that is all I have in the report. So if there are any questions from anyone, happy to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Robinson. I don't think we have any questions. Great work. Love the Tableau platform.
All righty, thank you.
Okay, we're on to council member reports. Council member Giroux.
Yeah, just one tonight. Just want to say happy birthday to my compadre, Mike Alcala. Turns 53 today. He's probably still hanging out at the Standard. Thank God you're only a stone's throw away from there, from where you actually sleep. So be kind to your liver and everything else this evening, and enjoy. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilmember Nickel.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As Mr. Elias Sassoon mentioned earlier during the Hyperion update, The El Segundo Hyperion Forum is Thursday, 6 p.m. It is on Zoom. Mr. Mitnick, if you could have staff push that out via social media. I know it's been an email blast before, but I just want to set some expectation for the community. What it is, it's a pretty standard meeting. It follows a structure where the Hyperion will give us updates on construction projects that they're working on, completion dates to when those construction projects will be online, and then they go on to talk about mosquito counts, smell counts. They will typically go over a call log, which I don't really know what to expect there. Normally there's about 15 calls, and they talk about the calls that come in, what the complaint was, and how quickly they responded to the complaint, with the number of calls they've received since the last time we had a meeting. I don't know if we can go through all those calls, but I'm curious to see if they have broken those calls up into categories so we can see all the different types of smells and how those smells are described by the different individuals that live on the west side of town. I highly recommend residents to attend so that we have an understanding, or you have a better understanding as to our relationship with our neighbor there to the northwest. And just be patient and listen, and you will have an opportunity for question and answer at the end of the meeting. Again, question and answer at the end of the meeting. It is via Zoom. Typically, if we weren't in COVID, it'd be held in the library. So for future meetings, it'll be in the library, but this Thursday, it is via Zoom. And look out on social media or on the city website or via an email blast from the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Nickel. Councilmember Perstuck.
Yeah, I just want to thank the fire department for hosting the pancake breakfast on 9/11, and for, I know a lot of people attended, and for honoring the victims of 9/11. That's it.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Pimentel.
Something sort of odd and government-y for people at home, if you were bored or interested, to look into the local travel network. So if you Google that or you put in your search engine for local travel network in our area, it is an effort to tie in the South Bay cities for alternate means of travel. So whether that is a scooter or a golf cart or bicycle lanes, it's an initiative we have. It has funding to do so. El Segundo is a bit on the outer orbit of it because we're geographically separated from the rest of the cities by our industrial area and the refinery. So any ideas or thoughts or inputs, they're looking for them and how to tie us in, and we're putting a lot of effort to that. Also, a bit of a thank you. I know we referenced earlier the County Sanitation District. County Sanitation District volunteered their efforts to help Hyperion with the cleanup, and similarly has had crews operating pro bono at West Basin to clean up some of the unusable water that was sent there by Hyperion. And that is something that the county has done on a voluntary basis with their crews. So those guys have been working overtime off shift, just trying to help out. So thanks to them.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I want to congratulate Ed. They did a great job with the Edtoberfest. That's a dandy hat you got there, Mayor Pro Tem Pimentel. And yes, indeed, it looks good. And we have our South Bay Cities Council of Government Board of Directors meeting Thursday. Full agenda, some of the items we will be addressing, including local travel network, as Mayor Pro Tem suggested. We'll keep you posted on that. We also have some representatives up here at the dais that are going to Sacramento for the League of Cities Conference, annual conference, which is great that they're actually back in session in person. So we'll wait to hear back on all that as it develops. Let's see, City Attorney, any reports?
Nothing this evening. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. City Manager.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, as the mayor just indicated, some of the council members will be going to the League of California Cities. Your city manager will go with you. That will be on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. It'll be very interesting this year to get an update on some of the recent legislation that was signed into law, SB 9 and SB 10, regarding zoning regarding housing in particular. We will have a report, do an AB 1234 report on that either on October 5th or October 19th. So the council as a whole will be updated. The next regular council meeting, 2 weeks from today, October 5th, will be a relatively light agenda. A couple items worth mentioning. We will have the year-end financial report, a preliminary unaudited summary of how did we do for the year that ended, and the outdoor dining report with a request to do an extension. Okay, so a relatively light meeting on October 5th, but the subsequent meetings will be fairly heavy, October 19th, November 2nd, and so on. Some land use items coming in front of the city council. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, we are going to go back into closed session. Thank you. Good evening.